Hello, everyone. Welcome to Broadway's Calling, where we ask your favorite Broadway stars where they were when they got the call to be on Broadway for that very first time. Today's guest is another one of our triple threats. Mike Wartella is here. He created Mike TV and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and he is known to many fans of Wicked as Bach. Now, along with Jay Breckenridge and Jennifer Sanchez, who are on our last couple of shows, Mike is one of the three artists that we've highlighted this season who did the pandemic pivot and created entertainment while waiting for Broadway to return. And what a return does Mike have for you. Before all the theater shut down, he was supposed to play rock and roll legend who gave us Runaround Sue, I'm Just a Teenager in Love, The Wanderer, and Abraham, Martin, and John. I'm talking, y'all, Dion DiMucci of Dion and the Belmonts. Ah! Yeah! Well, it's just been announced that Mike will finally get to tell Dion's story about how he was almost on the plane that they call it the day the music died, when we lost the Big Bopper, Buddy Holly, Richie Valens. Well, you probably didn't know that Dion was on that plane. Well, it's a great story, and I think Mike will be able to shed some light on that story and bring everybody up to speed, because it's really a fantastic, just sort of historical moment. Well, that story will be featured in the new musical called The Wanderer, which will be at the Paper Mill Playhouse this coming spring. Now, not only is Mike Wartella gonna be playing Dion in The Wanderer, but his co-stars are none other than pop icon and Broadway vet Joey McIntyre, also Anastasia's Christy Altomare. Come on, y'all. I mean, it just has hit written all over it. And could they be any prettier? I tell you, it's a pretty cast. Now, there's some additional cast members who are also going to be in the show, but it hasn't been announced yet. Paper Mill is going to announce that a little later, so you'll have to be looking at the Paper Mill website if you want to know who else is going to be in that show. But let's look at a little of Dion, the man, the rock and roll legend. I mean, just Dion and the Belmonts from Belmont Avenue in the Bronx, y'all. The Bronx, the Boogie Down Bronx. That's right. That's where those fellas all got together. Well, in addition to the behind the scenes scoop on The Wanderer, today our Broadway Bites section will have a delicious tribute to Mike Wartella's days on Broadway with Willy Wonka and his chocolate factory. Now, personally, I can't wait to hear Mike's story of finally getting to perform live this past weekend at 54 Below in his solo show. This is like, Broadway is slowly coming back. Performances are slowly coming back. And I just want to hear firsthand, and I hope you do, like what it's like for a performer to actually have live bodies to be singing to. I think it's going to be fantastic. Well, if you didn't get to see him on July 5th at 54 Below, here's Mike with a tasty treat written by Anthony Newley and Leslie Brickus, Pure Imagination.
Come with me, in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world? Well, there's really nothing to it. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you know you'll be free if you truly wish to be. Well, now, if you want to view magic lands, simply look around and see one. Want to be a dreamer, be one. Any dream at all, but you better please save me one. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah. Pure imagination, pure imagination, pure imagination. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Broadway's calling Mike Wartella.
Hey.
Oh my goodness, Mike. I just wrote in the comments, pure imagination. That was pure magic.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
Oh, I love that rendition. When I found that, I'm like, I usually like put like this big, where you're belting and you're, a big rock and roll Broadway belter. And there was things that I could have shown, but I was like, this is magical. And I worked with Leslie Brickus back at the Old Globe in like 2008, 2009 on the Sammy Davis Jr. musical. And it's like, I want to send that to him. I'm like, I hope he sees it because, oh man, it's just, I think he would love it.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Would love it.
It's such a beautiful song, isn't it? I mean,
isn't it?
I've heard so many versions and covers and renditions of it. In fact, me and my band that played at the show have covered that song 3 or 4 different ways, and we keep changing it every time because it's just got so much potential to it and different, options. And yeah.
Have you ever heard Anthony Newley do it?
I think so. Yeah. I think I have heard that one.
I mean, because I think he introduced it or had the pop version of it, from the movie.
Yeah.
Come with me and
That's
we'll
right.
see.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love it.
Oh, everyone has done. And I know there was a version like Sammy Davis Jr. did it.
Yep, absolutely.
Come with me, man, and we'll see.
Oh, he's the best.
I know. Well, so I was just talking because we'll get to The Wanderer and Dion and all those things and talk a little about Wicked, but you just performed live last week in New York with an audience. Like when you walked out there, you're in a room, you're no longer in your bedroom playing your guitar into the computer. What was that like? What were you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for mentioning it. It was wild, as one might imagine. I will say, I'll preface it by saying I've had a very strange sort of pandemic performance journey in that I was also a part of that production of Godspell that happened last summer during the pandemic, like
in the Berkshires, right?
In the Berkshires, yeah. We were masked. We were, getting tested every day. It was like the audience was masked.
Wow.
So that was a pretty bizarre sort of like thing to do. But I think you're right. What we're talking about is, I was there at 54 Below. Everyone was maskless on stage. Everyone was vaccinated and maskless in the audience. So, which is part of the procedure, which I love. And so it just felt like such a beautiful, it felt so normal, it felt so, it really, to me, just felt so much like a return to, oh my God, we used to do this. And yet going through an experience like that we've all been through, you can't ignore it. You all feel a little bit changed. And for me personally, especially as an artist, I just sort of feel like a lot more dropped in to myself than I used to be.
Wow.
I think before this whole thing, there was a lot of trying to prove stuff, whether I knew it or not. But subconsciously, I always felt a little, I was watching that video you played and kind of cringing a little bit because, it's always hard to watch yourself. And there's that. It's beautiful. I love the song, but it was always, I just feel like I see that now and I feel more like a kid then. And all of a sudden now I sort of feel like I've grown up. And so that's what it felt like to be there. I was surrounded by friends and family and fans and people that I really care about. And I just dropped right into the music. And the one thing that I really took from it was playing like this here on the Zoom, with the guitar and the crappy sound and all that. It's just really not how it's meant to be done, in my opinion. And so to be on the stage in the room with the sound, it was like, there it is. Now everything just felt easy and great.
And the audiences, they feel it too. It's like, we're actually not on Zoom. We're on StreamYard, which is a little better. And we get to do fancy things and, add the videos and things like that, to sort of make it, we're trying to get as close as we can to the people.
Absolutely. You've done a great job.
I don't know if anyone notices, if you're a regular watcher of the Broadway's Calling, I probably look like particularly good today. I mean, because I got a new computer because I took that little job I did a couple of weeks ago and took my little money and bought me the new iMac, y'all. And I'm telling you, I'm feeling like that Reggie Jean Page from Bridgerton good looking today.
You're looking good, Lance.
I mean, come on now. So I hope y'all are enjoying it out there, the good look, and I hope the sound is good. And, it's like enjoying Mike Wartella's tunes of Pure Imagination. And speaking of Pure Imagination, which you got to do in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with starring Christian Borle. But you got to work with Jack O'Brien. Now, I know people, they may not realize who Jack O'Brien is. Not only did he run the Old Globe Theater, but I mean, this man, he started assistant directing a lot of shows on Broadway. But when he started directing, I mean, we're talking Into the Woods, the original company of Full Monty, Hairspray, Front Page, Carousel. I mean, it's on and on and on. This is no joke, y'all. And Mike Wartella, you got to create a role on Broadway with Jack O'Brien directing. And I just wanted to know, what is it like, when you're creating with someone who's like created with all of these great actors and actresses over the last 40, 50 years? What was that like?
I mean, like, as we just talked about with, artists having something to prove or not, this is a man who has nothing to prove,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and you felt it. And it's such what that does to someone, I feel like, is that it deflates the ego. It takes it away. And he was just so humble and kind and open and smart and in charge and knew what was up, but just easy to work with and fun and loving and like truly like one of the greatest people I've ever worked with in terms of how loving and open he was and funny. And, it was such a good creative team between him and Christian Borle having a fair amount of say as Willy Wonka, which was so fun because this man is brilliant and I love him to pieces and love working with him. And he was so kind as well. And then, Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman and everybody who's just so collaborative and knows each other well. And
it wasn't Jackie Hoffman, your mother?
Oh yeah, Jackie Hoffman.
It was amazing.
It was a star-studded event. But we would go, as you know, we do previews for the first month of a show before you open. And previews is when you get to change things a little bit. So we would run the show at night and in the daytime, rehearse, try new changes, new script stuff. And coming into those note sessions every day for previews was so much fun because it was Jack and it was Christian and it was Mark and Scott and Jackie and us. And we would pitch ideas and pitch lines. And it felt more like what I would imagine the writer's room at SNL to be, more so than like doing a musical. It was really beautiful. And Jack just always knew what he was doing, and I felt so safe in I felt like I could create anything, make bold, big choices. And if they got cut, it's because I knew they should get cut, Right. Same deal. So he was just the best. I love it.
We had a picture, we showed it earlier, of you as Mike TV. Julie, who is our tech producer, back in the studio, if she has that picture, that is Mike TV over on the left in the yellow pants. And what you can see, you have to go online, y'all, if you want to see the Mike TV hair, because y'all...
Yeah,
I don't know if I don't know if you can make your hair do that right now.
It was twice the size of this. It was way up here.
That is the Mike TV hair.
It was wild. That wig was incredible. And it was just one thin layer of hair that stood straight up. That was a
wig?
Oh, of course that was a wig. Yeah.
Wow.
But obviously sort of based on the original.
Yes.
And it was not part of the original plot. And then after they met me, I saw my new design and I saw that they were having a little bit of a laugh at my expense, which I really loved. So
but it
all
was
about
great.
it. Yeah, it was awesome.
Speaking of great wigs on Broadway, we did lose Paul Huntley this week, who he was not only a great wig designer, but he's done over 100 Broadway shows, and he just passed away at 89 years old. And I got to work with him briefly when we were doing what's it called, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof with Scarlett Johansson. But it was funny, if you look at Donna Murphy's Instagram, you will get to see the breadth of this man's work. And I never realized that until I saw all the pictures together. And it's like, you'll see all these characters that Donna played, from Fosca to Ruth in, was that On the Town, to her Anna in King and I. And he did the wigs for all of them, and also people in the picture, or A Love Music when she was Lotta Lenya. Each of those, I always thought, I was like, oh, Donna can just create these great characters. But then you see the wigs and I go, oh my goodness, he was a great collaborator. So, props to Paul Huntley. Thank you for spending time with us and helping artists create and collaborate and make great characters, as your wig person did, wig designer did for Mike TV. That's so amazing. Because the show is called Broadway's Calling, and we can talk about so many things. But I have to ask, and I do like to know this, and I just want people to know that the reason I ask about people their first time when they got the call to be on Broadway is because when it happened to me, I realized this only happens once. No matter how long you're in show business and how many Broadway shows you do, the first time only happens once. And it's very special. So where were you when you got the call to be on Broadway, Mike?
Yeah, I get like emotional just reliving it, to be honest. I don't know if you do too, but I was about 27, 28 years old. My son at the time was maybe 4 years old.
Okay, so people are going to go, wait a minute.
Yeah,
First off, are you older than 27 now? They're going to say,
Correct.
and they were like, we're a son?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
well, we can talk about that later. So,
Absolutely,
all right, so
yeah.
you were 27 and your
It's
son,
part
what's
of
his
it.
name?
Hunter.
Hunter, right,
Wartella. He's
exactly.
amazing. Yep. I was actually doing Wicked on tour at the time, so I was getting close. I was still doing a national tour, but it wasn't Broadway yet. And I was scheduled to leave that tour. I was actually, at this moment, I was on a vacation from the show. I was at home in New York with my son. And I was scheduled to leave that tour because I was supposed to do the out-of-town tryout for Tuck Everlasting that was coming to Broadway in Boston at the time. So that was my plan. And while I'm on this vacation from Wicked, I get a phone call from my agents that says, Tuck's not happening. The money didn't come through. The whole thing got scrapped and pulled. It's not going to happen. And I was like, okay. When they were like, we're so sorry. You're out of 2 jobs because you've already left Wicked and they have your replacement there. And you're done, with Tuck for now. And I said, okay. And I was pretty depressed for about a 24-hour period.
Right.
Less than 24 hours, I get a call from them. They said, hey, we have good news. Wicked in New York wants to put you on Broadway when you're done with your tour. And I said, well, what? They're like, yeah, they found out you were free, from Tuck. And they're like, we'll just move him to Broadway when he comes on the tour. So I just couldn't believe it. That's like show business, right? In 24-hour periods, I lose my Broadway debut. And then I gain a new one by the luck of, the universe. Like I, of course, cried and was so grateful. But I will say, just real quick, because it's worth mentioning, I actually think that I was more moved by the third call that I got than anything I've ever been moved for. Which
was the third call?
Charlie and the Chocolate
Why was that?
Was the third. Because there was something to me about, Wicked, I was in the show on tour and then they moved me. They bumped me up. Then Tuck Everlasting was a small workshop I did that kind of became the little engine that could and only ran for about 2 months. Charlie was a big, giant show that had been running for years in London, had done workshops here. They couldn't find their Mike TV. And then right before Broadway, I got cast out of an audition. So when they called me to tell me I was going to do this, I burst into tears because I just realized in that moment I wasn't a hack. Like I wasn't a one-trick pony that was going to do it once and never get to do it again. I had this realization that I was like, wow, maybe I'm actually good enough to stay on the boards for a career and come on and off. And that was so moving to me to feel like a part of the community for once and not just like, well, we'll see if it ever happens again.
So the third time was the charm.
The charm, truly. Yeah, true.
It was the charm. That's what I'm going to start calling the third show. If you make it on Broadway and that's fantastic, then you get another one and maybe it's a hit, maybe it isn't. But that third one, you go, oh no, okay, I'm here.
It was special. It was.
That's
really
the
special.
charm.
Yeah.
That's the charm. Well, I just wanted to give you, first of all, Phineas Newborn, thank you. He said, I'm looking good. He said, my brother. And he is, and I'll take that because I'm pumping myself up here, with my new iMac, this is not a paid ad. I'm just in love. I am crushing on my computer, y'all. I'm crushing on it. But I did want to say that Drew Kilborn is a big fan of yours, Mike, and of Ethan Slater. And he says of Will Rowland, all fantastic young new Broadway stars. So that's really exciting. Thank you, Drew, for stopping by and seeing the show. And I want to say hello to a couple of other new people. Zoe Kavarik, I think I'm saying that, who's here. Thank you. Old friend Reggie Kelly, it's good to see you. Taj, oh my goodness, I love her spirit and her healing energy. It's so good to have you here, Taj. She heals all of us on Broadway with her wonderful hands. She comes to the theater and everything, so it's really great. But she's also a great spirit just to have around you as we're creating. I also want to make a special shout out to some of you out there. There's a couple of birthdays, and one of them, Barbara Wilmot, who went to school with me. She's probably not watching today because she's hanging out for her birthday, but she is a regular viewer and someone that both Mike and I know. He actually played Mike's dad in the workshop of The Wanderer. Johnny, tomorrow is his birthday.
Happy birthday,
Johnny, Johnny, again, he might be hanging out for his birthday, so not watching today. But when you watch on YouTube, which, you know, the show plays on YouTube practically immediately after we're here live on either Facebook or on youtube.com, which people are watching on both platforms today, but it will be here, and I hope that Johnny gets to see it because we love your support and thank you. And I know he was very, very excited when he heard Mike Wartella was going to be on. He says he's going to be on my birthday. So happy 7-Eleven. I wish I had a gigantic slushie to toast you all with, and because I think they're free today. Are they still free? Because they used to be free on 7-Eleven. You go to 7-Eleven, you used to get a free. Does anybody know? Can I still go to 7-Eleven? Because I can go right after this interview, y'all.
There's one in the neighborhood, I think. Right? Sure.
You know, because you know what? Our 7-Eleven closed up here near us.
I've been going.
Yeah. How dare they? That's all right. I can walk to a 7-Eleven for a slushie, y'all. Yeah. Hi, Deborah. How you doing? You guys, if you just tuned in, we're here with Mike Wartella. Mike Wartella, who's been Bach in Wicked and also Mike TV. No relation. He just played the character in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And he's about to star next spring in the brand new Broadway-bound musical, The Wanderer, based on Dion from Dion in the Belmonts. Right here, he's from New York City. Where are you from, Mike? I never knew that.
You know what? I was born in New York City.
You were?
Pretty quickly was moved back up to what I call my hometown, which is the Berkshires, Berkshire County in Massachusetts, which is where I am now.
didn't know you grew up there.
Yeah. Barrington Stage.
When I grow up, that's where I want to move.
Me too. Yeah. I know. It's a beautiful place. I've been here for a lot of the pandemic, and it's just been
wow. Great. Oh, well, that's fantastic. Well, I love that. I do want to say, if people were talking about The Wanderer, full disclosure, I was in a few of the early workshops of The Wanderer, but as far as casting beyond Mike, Joey McIntyre, and Christy Altomare, you're going to have to keep checking the Paper Mill Playhouse's website for confirmed casting. All I can say is that I can personally attest to the genius of Mike Wartella and also Dion. These two are badass cats. And I mean, it's like, y'all don't understand. Okay, Mike, I'm going to embarrass you just a little bit. But, the older I get, I work with like younger people, and there's certain young people where it's like they just have it. And I'm not just talking about just the talent. It's the grace, dignity, humility, and ability to share with other artists. I mean, it's sort of amazing. You and like Jordan Fisher are like my two new young favorites. Christy Altomare. I mean, it's like you guys like star in shows and you're like 20-nothing, and yet you have like just sort of the love and the patience and the grace of like stars, twice your age. And I just say that, it's just, and you can play guitar, you can dance, you can act, you can sing, and it's you need all of that to play Dion, because this guy, I mean, Dion grew up Belmont Avenue in the Bronx. But he was able to wow them even at the Apollo Theater, y'all. He was like, he had it honest. He was on the stoop singing the doo-wop. And I mean, he would wow the crowd at the Apollo. And like me personally, I didn't know how to play the guitar when I was in the show, like Mike, or actually a lot of the cast played the guitar, because all of your band, I think at one point, you guys are like playing the
there's
guitar.
A few people that do it. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to play the guitar, but Dion and I got together, and I can say that the couple of chords that I can play were taught to me by the one and only Dion. And I don't know if we have the video, because when I was switching to this brand new computer that makes me look like I'm on Bridgerton. I'm crazy. I lost my mind. Well, I did find some old files, and that's what happens, y'all. When you get a new computer, you start finding old files, and these are all okay. They're all PG, but there was a great video of me trying to learn the guitar and Dion with all of his patience, the patience of Job. The first time, you know, he's like singing and he's like so authentic when he's singing, and I'm like playing and just it's terrible. I mean, I have none of the skills of my grandfather, Papa Bros, who can really, you know, play the guitar. And then the second video, he says, "Why don't you try this?" And by the third time, I do get it, and I get to sing with Dion. And if Julie can find that video, I would love it if she played it so you all can see what I found.
Yeah.
I wanna be more like Jesus. Mary, don't you weep. Keep my lamb to reverse. Grace don't come cheap. I'm the son of Skip James. Father taught me well. I can't live without your days. It would be a burning hell.
Yeah, baby. There it is.
Just. I'm sorry.
I mean,
it's Guitar 101.
No, it was good. That was good.
Oh my
You
goodness!
did that in like 1 hour. I remember it. You did that fast.
Yeah, it was so crazy. And then, you know, and I know I'm like learning because I only had to learn a couple of chords, but it wasn't lost on me that someone from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you know, Dion and the Belmonts is like standing right next to me and like singing. Wait, do we have the picture, Julie, of Dion like standing next to me and like I'm just like a 6-year-old kid, like just smiling, like oh
Yeah.
my goodness, it's just.
So is he though? He's a 6-year-old too in that photo.
He really is. But isn't that? Did you find that about Dion? I mean, you're playing the guy, and you got to spend a lot of time with him. What did you feel like, you know, when you were with him? There you guys.
Yeah, yo,
yo,
the signature move.
That's his. Yo, that's Dion DiMucci, y'all. How did you find him? I mean, he's Dion. First off, he looks good and he's spry. He's like 83, y'all, and you would never know it. How did you find him?
I mean, first of all, I have to go back and just thank you for that redonkulous compliment you gave me earlier, which meant so much to me and honestly brought a tear to my eyes. So thank you, man. You know, that feeling's mutual. You are nothing but light and energy and grace, and we love you for it, man.
Well, thank you. I'm telling you, y'all got to see Mike Wartella in The Wanderer. I can't wait for people to see it. Oh, it's so good.
And you know, I think one of the reasons I try to be like that is because I have been lucky enough to work with such amazing people like yourself who set that example. And you know, coming up all these years, even though I am relatively young, there were a lot of opportunities I missed and didn't get to do, sort of paying my dues. And so there's a lot of gratitude and grace and gratefulness that I have to do anything that I get to do, and I always try to do the best I can. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, Dion. So for me, you know, this whole thing kind of came around out of nowhere while Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was happening. It was one of my very first ever offers in my career. They were doing a very small reading. We did that first reading. It was just a week long. And there was a short list, no pun intended, of actors that they wanted to use. The casting director had given Charles Messina, who's the writer and was the director in the first one, gave him a list of names. You know, I was surprised to hear some of the big names on there that I was even considered. And Dion himself, the story is that he went through YouTube and watched these other people and got to the third video, which was me singing a Beyonce song in a Broadway Sings concert. And he goes, that one, I want that kid. He sings in the pocket. He's got rhythm. Because that's, as we know, very important to Dion. That sort of rhythm singing.
It really,
So I got this call to give a shot, and then, you know, as you do, the sort of week-long reading is the audition in a sense. And it seemed to stick. We all seemed to like each other, and I've been so grateful to be a part of this thing as it goes. But part of it, before I did that first reading, this is the story, is that Charles called me and he said, we really like you. We want to offer you this role. I think it would be a good idea for you to meet Dion. He'd like to meet you before we start rehearsals. I said, okay, great. So we went to a steakhouse. I forget the name of it, down in the financial district. It's like Dion's favorite place.
Oh, okay.
We go to the steakhouse. We're sitting there having this kind of sweet yet awkward conversation for a while. We get more and more comfy. He becomes more sweet. I think, you know him. He's he sort of hides sometimes behind that sort of Bronx exterior, but the truth is it's almost a shy personality that takes a moment to, but then when he comes out, he's just this sweet, humble kid, and I love it. We go to his apartment, and he pulls out some guitars, and he says, so here's the thing with Run Around Sue. It's like this, but it's got to be like this. And he's just sort of giving me tips. And I'm like, so like this, I wish I had the video still. And I start singing with him, and he's playing guitar and doing the backups, like, oh, he's doing all the Belmont parts, and I'm singing the lead, oh yeah, and Charles is there filming it, and I'm just already, my mind is blown. I'm like, what is happening? I'm sitting here singing with this legend, his parts. He's like giving me the nod of approval, and that's kind of how our whole relationship has been. He's just been so kind and supportive and such a mentor to me. This is such an interesting relationship because he could easily have some issue with some of the things I'm doing, or but he doesn't. He's supportive, and in fact, if anything, me and some of the rest of the team try to sometimes get things that I'm doing right, in the sense of like, well, this is how Dion did it back then. Right. And he's the one who's like, no, let him do it his own way. Let him mess it up the way he wants. And I'm like, okay. So he's very encouraging of me just as an artist, period. And he's so supportive and sweet. And it's been like an unbelievable experience. I cannot imagine doing this project without him by my side. I know
he really is the heart and soul, and it's like, and we have a great team, like you said, Charles Messina wrote it. We have Kenneth Ferrone, who is our director, choreographer. We have Sarah and Charlie, and a great ensemble. I mean, it's just so many people that you've been working with, and just all great collaborators. Zoe wanted to know if you guys are taking questions. Mike, do you know when tickets for The Wanderer go on sale? I'm coming out to New York City next April and would love to see the show.
I mean, I know we'll be running then, so that's good news. I don't know for sure the date of when they go on sale. Something tells me it's soon, if not maybe even already. I don't know, but keep checking the Paper Mill website, I would say, because
that's the Paper Mill Playhouse in Millburn, New Jersey, and it's only like a 40-minute New Jersey Transit train ride from the city. So that's where it's going to start before it moves on to wherever it's going to move on. Hey, Sue Ochoa out in California. She says, I'm in her living room like old times when I lived out in California. That's my running buddy. Good to see you, Sue. You guys, if you were here and you saw the video of me trying to play the guitar with the great Dion DiMucci of Dion and the Belmonts, I have so many gems like that on my hard drive that I have discovered on this new computer, and I want to share them all with you. And so when we come back, because we only have a couple of more shows, Broadway's Calling, the Damn-demic season of this first season. We have 2 more shows. But Broadway 2.0, I want to show you guys there are so many videos of people with stars, and I just have some great things with Glenn Close and maybe some Patti LuPone, Donna Murphy. I mean, just really been lots of fun things. But I would love it if you guys would help us realize our dream of moving the show to in-person interviews where I could just be going, yo, with my boy Mike Wartella live. And of course, for the features we want to do along Broadway, and hopefully moving the show to a streaming service or network, we would love if you guys would consider joining our family over at patreon.com/Broadway's Calling. And now you can just do a monthly, $200 a month. Of course you could, if you got it like that. But believe it or not, $5 a month, $12 a month, whatever you have extra, just money falling out, that you find in the couch, that really does help us, because you would not believe how we've been supported this past year by our Patreon family, just sending $5 a month, and and then you stop it. If you don't have the $5, you just stop it. But we would love it if you would just help us, bring more stories like Mike Wartella's of his first story and his third Broadway story, which was The Charm. And you'll see other stars, like the stars who've already been on our show, like Laura Benanti and Chuck Cooper, Lilius White, Glenn Close, Esapatha Murkison, my best friend, what's his name? Wayne Brady. Oh my God, all these stars. Was that Eric McCormack and Lily Cooper? Yes, they've all been here. So please, dig in the couch, send the $5 a month over at the patreon.com/Broadway Calling. And I would love it. So we were talking to Mike Wartella about, and I know there's a lot about The Wanderer, but it's a very exciting project that's coming. And it's something. It's like, we know of the big Broadway shows. Of course, Wicked is coming back, and Lion King is coming back, and Phantom of the Opera is coming back. But it's the new shows that I'm excited about. So this is why I wanted to talk about The Wanderer, and the fact that Mike Wartella was available, because y'all, during the pandemic, he's been working. Wartella's been working, right? But a lot of people don't know. They know the songs, Run Around Sue, and I'm Just a Teenager in Love, and The Wanderer, of course. But a lot of people don't know that Dion was a part of, like I called it, I didn't name it, but The Day That the Music Died, when we lost the Big Bopper and Buddy Holly and Richie Valens. He was also on that tour at the Winter Dance Party tour that was playing, and they were in Iowa at the time. And there's Dion and the Belmonts that they played, and the headliners, Buddy Holly was tired of touring on this little rickety bus that they have, and he said that he wanted to rent this like Beechcraft. I think it was called a Beach Bonanza aircraft or something like that. And so, to get them to Fargo, North Dakota, there was a little storm. And I don't know, Mike, do you know the rest of the story? How Dion was on the plane, and then Richie Valens had a cold or something? Like,
yeah,
you remember what happened?
Yeah, of course. It's
story?
Pretty wild. It's pretty wild because, it's true. I don't think many people know how Dion's story ties into this.
Right. Yeah.
And it's very personal to him. It's very intense. It's sort of a big plot point in our show. Basically, it seemed like any other kind of simple moment where the story goes, and this is true, that there were 3 seats, not counting the pilot, on the plane, and there were 4 of them. So one of them wasn't going to get to go. Right. So they were going to toss a coin for it. Dion wins the coin toss. So he's supposed to go on the plane. And then he finds out how much the ticket costs.
Oh, right.
Even though he's making a lot of money on the tour, it doesn't matter to him because the amount of the ticket is the exact same amount that his parents pay for rent in the Bronx.
And it was $36. I remember that.
$36.
$36.
And just morally, he couldn't do it. He was like, absolutely not. No way. So he said, you know what? Richie Valens is coming down with a cold anyway. Maybe he should take it. I'll take the bus. And then the plane crashes. So I think what's really interesting to explore that I know people can relate to is this idea of survivor's guilt and what happens when you outlive your friends, your family, and have to question, with whatever your concept of the universe and God is, why me, why them, why do I, what's my purpose? And that's been a tough one for him in his real life. And,
And didn't they continued with the tour for a couple of weeks afterwards, like Dion and some of the other guys?
Yeah, they got some people to replace it, actually.
Yeah, and to sing the songs. It was absolutely amazing.
He had no time to grieve, no time to process. That's how he tells it, at least. He was just sort of thrust back into real life without any,
And his family, all they heard was rock stars had perished in a plane. So they didn't know, the other people didn't know who had gone down in the plane. And it's really interesting also because we're a lot younger than that era. That's right. I said I was a lot younger than that era.
That's right.
But it's really sort of like my mother's generation because she grew up with doo-wop and things like that. And but we don't realize that even though, Dion was already successful at 16, 17 years old. He already had hit music, and he had found the love of his life, Susan, who Christy is going to be playing opposite you. You guys are lovely together. When they've been married, how long now, Dion and Susan?
Oh, I think like 50? Well over 50 years.
Yeah, 50, over 50 years. But she stayed with him because even though he had a lot of success, he got into the drugs, and it was bad.
Absolutely.
It was really bad. He was a junkie, but that's not something that we really knew about. But, you know, Dion, he said, you can put it into the musical. So it's in the musical, y'all, but also his redemption is in the musical, which I think is beautiful. And don't you think that you can find it in Dion's spirit? Like you can see that he gets
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think to me, I'm glad you're bringing it up because to me, this is like the most beautiful and important part of our story moving forward is the idea of addiction and the idea of redemption from that addiction and what it really looks like. Thank God Dion in real life is so humble about his story and open about it and has been well in recovery publicly for, again, almost 50 years. But he struggled hard as a kid. He was a kid. He was 16 years old when he was becoming famous. Like we've seen a lot of these Hollywood celebrities go through. A lot of them haven't lived through it. Some have. He was lucky enough to live through it and find recovery. And I think what is so moving to me that we really show, like warts and all in this show, is the ups and downs of addiction and what it really looks like for someone to be powerless and out of control. They may know there's a problem. They may be trying to stop desperately, but that emotional thing triggers them to do it again. And then, oh man, you know, and it's like they're being caught by their friends and family. Maybe they're clean for a couple of weeks. Maybe then they slip again. It's not a linear process always. And there's a lot of addiction in my family. Thankfully, most of it is, you know, in recovery at this point. And it's something very personal to me too. It's a very misunderstood situation. Unfortunately, I feel like through all these years of normalizing a lot of things, there's still a lot of people who don't understand drugs, alcohol, gambling, what have you. And they think of it as like, oh, well, that person's a mess. They're a disaster. Stay away from them. No, they need help. They're sick. And quite honestly, in this country, you know, these people who do drugs or sell drugs, they get thrown in jail right away as opposed to thrown in rehab, which is really where they need to be. And so I'm just hoping we're going to be able to shed some light on this part of the story and really kind of bring the truth to fruition. And it is one of the things I feel like that does set us apart from some of the other jukebox musicals, which are also wonderful. That we're not only telling the story of his career, we're telling the personal, true behind the music story of like what he really went through and what his friends and family experienced in the process. Yeah.
Well, I just, and the fact that he just wrote hit after hit after hit, even, you know, whatever was going on. I mean, you know, dealing with the survivor's guilt, dealing with, you know, his addiction, you know, and I don't know if it was because Susan was already always by his side or, you know, even his parents, you know, if they like were helping him. But I was very excited to know that, and I didn't know this, that he wrote one of my all-time favorite songs as a kid. You know, I was around the 60s, and it was Abraham, Martin, and John. And, you know, in around like 68, 69, you know, we had lost a lot of people, especially, you know, as an African-American in this country. You know, they got, you know, John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and Medgar Evers, all the people who were sort of like helping Black people be fully realized as citizens in this country. We kept losing them. They kept or taking them away from us. And I got that song as a kid, and I was surprised to, and I know a lot of baby boomers out there are familiar with the tune, but I was surprised that a lot of young people are rediscovering not only Dion's doo-wop and rock and roll hits, but they're rediscovering Abraham, Martin, and John. And they've been doing all these like reaction videos. Do you see these, Mike? No. You've never seen all these kids. They're doing these reaction videos where they play like tunes like Willie Nelson or Dolly Parton or, you know, someone, you know, from another era, you know, they're in their 20s. Well, someone did Dion's Abraham, Martin, and John. I'm just going to show you a snippet, and then I am going to show you Dion doing a very heartfelt version of the song later on. So stick around, but check this out. This is from JVTV, this kid and his reaction to Dion.
Man, I gotta say, this was a really great song, man. At the same time, the message of the song was super powerful, man. Like Dion, just like I don't know how he's able to do it, man, but he definitely like let everything out in this song, man. Like, can anybody hear me? Like, I think after listening to this song, man, a lot of people hear you. It's so true what he said, man. What a good die young. Really, really sad song, man. Rest in peace, all three of those lives that were lost by assassination. Yeah, guys, I really want to hear your thoughts on this song, man, down in the comments. And yeah, if you got any more songs by Dion you want me to check out, please do that down below.
He was just so, it's like, and he plays the song and he couldn't believe it. It's like, oh man, this is really sad. And but it was really sad.
Yeah.
Now, did you know when you were doing the musical that Dion had written that song?
No, I mean, I did obviously when I got cast, but right before I got cast, I actually was surprised at how little I knew about Dion and even his catalog. I knew a lot of the songs because there are so many hits.
Right.
But I guess in my head, I thought they were all kind of from different artists and they're all hits,
Yeah.
And especially including Abraham Martin and John, which starts to have a very different folk rock sound, which was incidentally one of the first songs and definitely his first hit that he had after he got clean and sober.
Right.
So very fascinating that he sort of like dropped into that and had this, second coming of his career. But that's one of the beautiful things about him, I think, throughout all of his songwriting is that he's just able to be really, really honest about whatever he's feeling, whatever we're feeling, whatever's going on in the moment. There's not a whole lot of pretense with him. It's pretty much just the truth of the humanity in the moment. And that song to me really, really captured what people were just feeling at that time about, which obviously is in parallel, sadly, very similar to the years we've been having,
Yeah. I was just going to ask you that, as like for you, you're like 69. And now, I was going to ask you as an actor, you're playing this legend because I'm right next to you and I see how you like sort of drop in also. And what does that mean to you? Like, how does it speak to you? Forget about how it spoke to you when you did the workshop. How will it speak to you now that we've gone through what we've gone through, the pandemic and the social unrest? Like, how do you think that will affect your performance?
It's a really good question. It's a very different world. And obviously some of this I don't know because I will have to find out when I get there.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you already is just where I was already headed with it is like hoping to do a little bit of what he did, which is to be the vessel for what other people need to hear and for what they're feeling. What I've learned as I've gotten older, when I was younger, it was all about ego. It was about how do I look? How do I sound? What do they think of me? No, forget any of that. That's gone for me now. Now what I realize as artists is that there's some universal energy that's coming through us and being harnessed out to them. And we got to get out of the way of our own selves and let that energy flow. And luckily he writes beautiful material that lends itself to that, where you just do nothing. You just sit and sing and that's all you need to do. But it touches me to play now. It touches me to think about now. He was and is honestly, strangely, a big ally to a lot of these artists because to him, none of it ever made sense. And he talks about this publicly. Racism didn't make sense to him. He just didn't.
He doesn't get it.
He was like, why? He grew up in the Bronx. They were to him, they were sharing music. They were all experiencing the same thing. He loved, looking at other cultures and saying, what do you have to offer? And how can we, it was all beautiful to him. And he actually talks about, I think he toured with many famous artists, of course, but one of them, I think, was Sam Smith over the years. And, and he talks about how, they weren't coming into the same hotels, just like Sammy Davis Jr. It was like they weren't, and he just hated it. He didn't understand. He was furious. And I think he just still feels that way now. And so the best any of us can do is be a vehicle and a vessel to express the art of what everyone's feeling, what we've all gone through, and get out of the way of it and let it speak for itself.
Right.
It's a little overwhelming. There's too much for me personally, it's like there's too much to attack in this one moment, in this one thing. So all I can do is do the show and hopefully, heal and help. And it's part of our story. So I'm really glad to be able to tell it. as you
And
well
each
know.
audience member will take from it what they, whatever it is. It's like they're not going to get everything. They'll just have their own journey and their own experience. Just so everyone knows that not only will the Wanderer have all of the hits that but Dion is still writing, and Christy Altamere sings like one of the most beautiful new songs. I mean, it's like he's writing like he's a young kid. It's just that.
He's been writing. That's another thing people don't always realize. It's like he's got hits from every 70s, 80s, 90s. These like big hits. Our opening number, "King of the New York Streets," is something. Somewhere in the middle there. It's just phenomenal. Like, this stuff is great that he keeps
so good. Well, this has been fantastic. I mean, we're here with Mike Wartella, and before we go, we have a special treat for Mike because, as you know, that he was Mike TV and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and we have Andrea from Broadway Bites who made a little special treat and tribute. She loves to do this for our stars on the show. And she made this for you, Mike, and your cast of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Enjoy.
Cool.
Even eat the dishes.
Today, we're going to make a traditional chocolate fudge. We're going to start by adding 1.5 cups of milk chocolate chips, another 1.5 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips. This is going to create a very nice balance of like that milk chocolate and a little bit of dark chocolate. So it's not too bitter and not too sweet. So now we're going to add the condensed milk. I think we've used this 1 or 2 times before. Here we go. We want to add that little pinch of salt. Stick it in and want to melt down the chocolate chips with the sweet condensed milk under medium-low heat. Be mixing away until the chocolate chips are fully melted. Okay, this looks ready. We need to remove from the heat. We're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. Make sure we mix the vanilla. I think this is ready to pour. Make sure you have an 8-inch pan that is lined with parchment paper. This will make it easier for you to remove the fudge and to be able to cut it. I'm gonna use a spatula. Of course, I want to get all the yumminess out of the spoon, right? Well, maybe not all of it. I might have to have some later. Blend it beautifully. Just get everything out. Oh, it smells so good. So a lot of people like to add nuts and candies to their fudge, and you are welcome to do so. I would love to add coconut and almonds for like an Almond Joy version. I think that'd be fabulous. Or some cashews and marshmallows for like a rocky road. That would be great, huh? You're gonna wanna make sure you let it cool on your counter for about 15 to 20 minutes before you transfer it into the refrigerator for about 2 hours or until firm. Let me know in the comment section how you like your fudge. Do you like candies? Do you like nuts? Do you like peanut butter or something else? I don't know, but I like a good old-fashioned just plain chocolate fudge. This will be Oompa Loompa approved. Enjoy.
Oompa, oompa, oompa dee doo. Hello, Andrea.
Hello.
That was tasty, huh?
Oh my God, I have tons of leftovers, but anyway, that's another story.
That's amazing. Ooh.
Lance, you look fabulous, and you too, Mike, on your wonderful computers. I have, you know what version I have? I have the Mac Pro, almost Pro.
Almost Pro.
That's what I look
Semi-pro.
like. Yeah, semi-pro. You know, amateur.
Well, we'll go shopping, Andrea, when I'm there in a couple of weeks, because what we're going to do, the final show, we will probably all get to be together, because I think I'll be in California in a couple of weeks. And what I didn't tell Julie or Andrea is that this next week's show, I'm going to be in another location. Finally, I'm leaving here. I've been out to Lincoln Center. I was down at Times Square, and now I'm going to be somewhere else. And I'm going to leave hints throughout the week. Where in the world is Broadway's calling? So you'll figure out from the Broadway show hints that I'll be leaving all throughout the week on the Instagram and on Facebook. And then that's where I'll be doing the show from next Sunday. So I can't wait to see if people can figure out where I'll be. But so Andrea, thank you for that. That was so delicious.
You're so welcome. And Mike, do you like fudge? And if you do, what's your favorite kind? We have to know.
I absolutely do. Ooh, man, it's a toss-up between, I sometimes like the white chocolate fudge, but I love a chocolate peanut butter too. That's really good.
Yes.
I agree.
You know? Ooh, but that looked incredible.
It was tasty. Oh my goodness. I have to tell you that I was really inspired by your story and touched and very moved. And I'm so looking forward to seeing you. I know I'm going to the Paper Mill Playhouse. And can you share with our viewers what's the best way to follow you so that we can get up to date of what's going on with you, where you're performing, all of that stuff? What's all your social information?
It's pretty simple. I mean, I'm definitely on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, I guess, at this point. And I think it's just at Mike Wartella. That's pretty easy to find. So
Fabulous.
That's good. At Mike Wartella on the Instagram. That's really good.
That's your name.
I got it. Pretty easy.
Well, I love it. Well, Andrea, I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks out in California. Maybe you can cook something for me and then I can actually taste it, because I've been loving all of the videos throughout this whole season. I mean, it's like I watch them. Sometimes I try and attempt them here, but they never look like yours. But but I look forward to seeing you out there. Thank you, Lance. That's going to be
fun. Maybe the viewers can comment. What should I make for Lance? There we go.
Yes.
Well, you got to save some of that fudge and eat some for me for sure.
I'll freeze them and ship them for you. How's that?
Well, that's true, because fudge actually freezes and ships nicely. So, Mike, I mean, it's like hang around in our virtual green room afterwards. You and Andrea can work out a little,
Oh my God, I don't
fudge exchange.
Fudge exchange. That'd be amazing. Well, thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome. Take care. We'll see you.
See you later. Oh man, I love that. I mean, it's truly, it's like every time she makes something, I go like, oh, I just want to taste it. So I can't wait, for a couple of weeks from now to like actually be there and taste some of her cooking. It's so good. Well, you sort of, I had this like, question about artists during the pandemic, but we actually talked about it, and I'm so excited because I've noticed that Phineas Newborn, who is an artist, he's a choreographer, he's an actor, singer, dancer. He really, that spoke to him when you said that you love that about being a vessel. And I really believe that too. I always say that, the rivers sort of flow through us and out. People say, oh, you're so talented. It's not about being talented is about being open enough to let things come through us to speak to the audience, because it's like, that's why I wanted to know about what it was like when you were there in the room with the audience, because that is the electricity that happens in the moment. When the artist like yourself, you let the music come out of you and you see people respond. And I just feel like it's so exciting to watch. And I'm so thankful that you were able to share all of these stories from the 54 Below, your journey with Dion, and what you're going to bring to the role when you open up the show in the spring at Paper Mill. I think that's exciting. It's a long time away, with the way the world is going now. It's sort of scary sometimes to have dreams and hopes because you're like, oh, what's around the corner? Yeah. But knowing that you're going to be playing Dion, it gives me something, a carrot to hold on to. And man, I am looking forward to it. Is there anything you wanted to say that we didn't cover, like to your fans, to your family and friends out there?
Well, sure. I mean, always, if you give me that opportunity, I'd be like, a long time ago. No, no, I mean, absolutely. The fans and the family and the friends. I mean, that's another thing I took from that 54 Below moment was that, a lot of them were there. A lot of people from The Wanderer, creative people and people I've worked with. And it's just like, I don't know about everybody else, but it almost, in a sense, it's a similar experience, I would say, to like losing a loved one, is that you end up feeling a little bit more grateful for what you've got and your life. And I certainly feel after this pandemic, just how lucky I am to get to be talking to you right here, right now, with your amazing energy and, life and career, that you actually want to talk to someone like me. I can't believe, you know what I mean? I can't believe we get to tell these stories and that I get to go do these things. And the fact that people have been so supportive all these years. I have a wonderful group of fans and such a great family and a group of friends that I'm so, so thankful for. And, I'm just grateful, man. It's great.
Oh, well, I hope that people, if you've enjoyed it, if you just share the show, all of Mike's fans and Broadway Calling fan, share the show, whether we're on the Facebook or whether you're watching it on YouTube, follow and share us and, help us continue to grow. And like I said, with the patreon.com/Broadway's Calling, that helps us. The $5 a month, trust me, it really does help us. That's really, really great. Because hopefully when it's a real show, we pay people, fly them places, make it real. Make it real. We want to do big things. It's very exciting. I'm so thankful that all of you dropped in. And as I promised, I do have the video of this. It's very special when you see Dion sing Abraham, Martin, and John. And I hope you stay around for that. But I just want to say to everybody, this is my guest, Mike Wartella. Thank you for dropping in. And stay safe, stay sane, keep a little Broadway in your life. I'm Lance Roberts. Peace.
Anybody here seen my old friend Abraham? Can you tell me where he's gone? He freed a lot of people, but it seemed good they die young. I just looked around and he's gone. Anybody here seen my old friend John? Can you tell me where he's gone? He freed a lot of people, but it seemed good they die young. I just looked around and he's gone. Anybody here seen my old friend Martin? Can you tell me where he's gone? He freed a lot of people, but it seemed good they die young. I just look round and he's gone. Didn't you love the things that they stood for? Didn't they try to find some good for you and me? And we'll be free someday soon. He's gonna be one day. Anybody here see my old friend Bobby? Can you tell me where he's gone? I thought I saw him walking up over the hill with Abraham